finishing up the last podcast. And we'll get you on. We'll throw you $100 at you.
All right, we're live, man.
Are we?
We are with, I'm Daniel Chamberlain, Coaching 101 podcast. We are here in Round Rock, Texas, at the Texas Athletic Director Association's conference. The man, the myth, the legend, Mark Bridges, sitting next to me. Hi, buddy.
Hey, man, we're back at it again.
Busy day,
This has been insane.
It was much busier than I was anticipating.
Well, this state's labeled as the Mecca or the heaven of what we do in anything sport facility. And, these guys, I refer to them as Yoda. These ADs have been around the block forever and a day. They know what they want. They know when they want to buy something. And all these key decision makers here. And it's a good branding thing. But, man, it's something when they see our board and, you get kind of, starstruck with these applications.
For sure.
A lot of these, we're hoping that will turn into legitimate leads, and sales over time.
So tell me about we're here with this big old board behind us that's lighting everybody up. What is A Sports doing for schools in this area and across the nation? Yeah,
the unique thing, and if you're listening to this podcast and this sounds redundant, forgive me, but I tell you, I talk to coaches all across the country. We get phone calls from Trent Dilfer's network to Kenny Simpson's network to Touchdown Dave's network down in the Rio Valley, and if you speak Spanish, hablo español muy poquito, me llamo Monaco, so I'm in Texas, and so what they're buying into is our business model. We want to say it over and over and over again. There's no better way to build a revenue stream and a revenue platform than through video boards.
Right.
And the sponsor, the donor, the advertiser, whatever semantics you want to use, we can help you build that revenue stream after raising $40 million in less than 10 years. We're just getting started.
Yeah, that's big time.
Yeah, well, and here's the thing. These coaches that have been listening in, I can't say this enough, if you guys can help us bridge the gap with your administrators, whoever is the final authority in your district. Normally, a school board has to give their stamp of approval, but we don't have to go present to every school board in the freaking country. But we need your soup, your AD that has buying power, and we don't need a gap. We need them to be in a room together, or one who can really push this over. And they go, so you're saying that your firm will go out and put boots on the ground and help us build a revenue platform, a revenue stream, and this will pay for the board, and then over time we have an ROI of residual income. Can you say that again? And I'm like, I've said it enough. How many different ways do I need to say it over and over and over? And what happens is this becomes, in their mind, a non-budgetary item. It becomes something that pays for itself. It's just a lot of ways to skin a cat, a lot of ways to accomplish this, and I don't want to keep, sounding redundant, but that is the number one hurdle every one of the coaches that's listening to this podcast is they're trying to get a board the right size, the right resolution at the right spot. And how do we pay for it if it's not in the budget, if it's not on the agenda, if it's not a new stadium, if it's taking the old, what I call the flip phone and the old school board and upgrading to a smartphone? Hello. There's a lot you can accomplish on your football field if you have live video production.
And, we had Steve Wells on just a few minutes ago, and if you're listening to this in the future, he probably last week. But Steve Wells talked about, he's been at some very small schools, some poor, very, very poor counties or school districts, whatever, and still A Sports is able to come in and turn the right rocks over and find the monies to get these boards put up.
Absolutely, and I think that's where a football community, there's a camaraderie there, there's a synergy there. They want to see this go forward. Yeah. So sometimes it's because the have not, you get not, or the you ask not, you get not, or whatever. And I think that's where just the right formula, and it's a lot of different formulas. It's kind of like a menu. It's kind of like different categories, appetizer, dessert, your entree portion. Kind of like, hopefully it's like the Cheesecake Factory menu.
There we go.
That thing's loaded, man. It's got so many, items on the menu. It's retarded. But yeah, there's a lot of ways to accomplish this. And then we can also do a deferred payment plan. I don't know if I have ever spoken to this on the podcast yet, or I don't know if you guys have gotten into the roots of that. You can defer a payment on our our in our business model where you don't have to pay a dime for 1 year. And then in year 2 is a small percentage of what the overall cost is. Kind of like mortgage in a sense, or more like a car note.
Yeah.
All right, I don't have any coach in America coming to me and saying, man, I don't have enough pennies to have a car.
Right.
You know, maybe a few guys, if you're there, trust me, you're going to get out of that rut soon, okay? That scooter, that moped you're still hanging out with, you know, it'll happen. But most people understand paying off something. They get that mindset. It doesn't have to be all money up front. It doesn't have to be like this. We can get into a construction draw or progressive payment. But the deferred payment plan for 2As, 3As that are like, even the 1A coaches are calling us now, which is crazy.
Yep.
There's not even 1A football in some states. So now we're getting calls that say, hey, I heard you on the podcast, or I read Kenny's book, or I was at a gun tee, wing tee clinic, you spoke, you know, whatever. You're really telling me that we can not pay you a dime for 1 year, and then in year 2, let's think small change for a minute, $100,000, because it's going to be more than that. You're telling me that all I have to pay in year 2 is like 23-ish, 24-ish, depending on whatever the interest rate is? Yeah. And then year 3 is 23-ish, 24. Yeah. Year 4, year 5, of course, year 6, you get your first year free if you did a 5-year plan.
Right.
It'll pay for itself for the love of God. Can your superintendent or CFO or booster or club guy or board member see that? I mean, that rationale is not rocket science.
The ability to have that year deferred to learn how to go out. I mean, obviously you're holding their hand, you're walking people through it until they get in the black. But that's just time for you to go out and make that happen, right? We got the board up. Now people can see it. It's not a thing we're doing in the future. We have it.
Absolutely.
And now, look at all your competitors that are advertising here and at home crown football game or spring, whatever you're playing at your place, right?
Absolutely. Well, and I think you give us a year where we can go help build a revenue. It only takes 2-3 months, you know, 'cause there comes a moment where your community has been asked by an A Sports representative where they're like, okay, we've saturated this, let's move on. But really you're giving us, let's say, they hear about it, we have the meeting, we present to the board, or we have the meeting, which is critical. We got to have a sit-down meeting with the right people in the room, period. Whether it's a Zoom call or this is going to die on the vine. I can't tell you how many coaches have gone back and we never had a meeting. It's not going to happen. This is not, let's get a quote, let's see what we can do. This is not that typical buying process. So with that deferred payment plan, we also have a few months before they even come under contract. And the ball's already rolling and the meeting's happening, and we may have a lunch and cater in with 3 or 4, maybe 8 or 10 potential sponsors, donors, advertisers, you know, and all it takes is a few to kind of get on that wave. And I've never had a school say, well, we can't do that. Maybe the timing's not right. Maybe you got the wrong, I've had this, we got the wrong superintendent. Well, sorry, but that has happened. Or they're 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Or he just doesn't see straight. Or, you know, every excuse under the sun. If we can at least help them see the vision in a short period of time in a meeting and then show them some applications, it'll take care of itself. It's not that hard. It's just hard getting a meeting with the right people, which is crazy, but that's the problem.
Yeah, well, A Sports is from the moment that I was introduced to it. I think it was at a gun tee clinic, actually.
It was.
And I met you for the first time, and I've been a believer in just seeing what it can do for a school. I mean, look at that South Side where Kenny is, right? I mean,
that's a 9-year-old board now almost.
It's revolutionized that school.
The whole school, and now the arena package. Guess what the arena package is? They didn't blink an eye at $500,000.
Yeah. So
because they saw the revenue that came in, they were like, "Whoa!" And I think that's where we got to get there in that superintendent's mind, and that board's mind, and that CFO or whomever that's really kind of pushing us over the threshold, you know. And that's the fun part is now it's not just your Allen, Texas, or those particular spots in America. It's every school in America now is like, "Hey, we can accomplish something." Now, you're not going to get the biggest one in America, which we get in that meeting too sometimes, you know, but it can happen. Yeah. It can really happen. And I think that's where we get real excited about that, because that business model, now that we're over the $40 million threshold in a short period of time, who knows what the next 3 to 5 years is going to look like in those states. And then get a first state discount if we're not there. in that particular state or in that region, you know. So there's a
Because
lot that we'll do for them.
People are going to copycat, right? Like,
Well,
you
that's
will
right.
be
You'll be the
MD.
trendsetter.
Yeah.
You know, I remember the old rap group Ron C back in the day. I'm dating myself. Somebody like, you'll do what? You know, I'm old. That dude. He had a rap song called Trendsetter. And it's just a constant repetition of trendsetter in that. And that's what happens. The snowball effect, the arms race begins as soon as somebody in your conference has something legit enough. Not a scale down, not a mediocre, but something really legit. And they're like, where'd you get that from?
Yeah.
And that's how we make our money back. Is the branding works, the marketing works. Why do you raise money and not charge a dime? Why are you not taking a percentage of the dollars that come in? Well, because this brands itself. Yeah. We will make our money. Pulled his chair up and got in my face and said, how are you guys able to accomplish this on a national scale? And I said, well, we don't do every school in America, Trent, but we really partner with the schools that are serious. They want to have that meeting, and then it gets over that hump, and they see the dollars come in. He's like, oh, so you're trusting the conference, their home away schedule, which we call it the home away times 3 over a 6-year period, that you inundate opposing teams with our product. And it's eye candy, brother.
They have to have it.
I got to have it now. I mean, that school got it. Heck, we got to get it. You know, and it is what it is. We play off of that. That's reality. And that's how everything else is snowballed in school facilities across the country.
Yeah.
So that's the main gist right there.
I think they're security kicking us out of here. I think we got to be out of the hall for an hour or something.
Yeah, this is our last session for the moment.
Yeah,
Thanks,
we will be back in. Appreciate you guys that are watching. If you have any questions for Ace Sports, contact Mark, mark.bridges@acesports.com.
Yeah, that's right. And my cell, I'll give it to you guys. It's area code 501-909-9173, and that's area code 501-909-9173. I bet I've talked to 150, 200 gun tee, wing tee guys over the last 4 or 5 years.
I bet you have.
And these guys, we'll talk at night, we'll talk on Saturdays, we'll talk whenever. And sometimes I'll give you an hour or two. They're intrigued with the overall process. And guys, I want to thank Daniel and Kenny for this podcast and what they're doing across the country with you. You guys are a unique movement that we educate people all across the country and what you're accomplishing. And of course, I'm a Monday morning quarterback where I want to read that linebacker now during the film and find out, is he legit or not? Because we're going to rip you to shreds if he's not, you know, and just stuff like that, you know, gets me excited about what you guys are accomplishing. So thank you and all that you're doing for us.
Oh, we appreciate you being the prime sponsor for the Coaching 101 podcast.
You bet.
We're going to get off here. We'll be back hopefully within the next hour or so. Thank you, guys.
Good. Thank you.